Now, for a review of what's making the headlines in the papers this morning, let's bring in the rise analyst Constance Ikoko. Hi, Constance.
Hi, Tolu. Good morning.
Good morning. Good to see you.
Good to see you. How are you today?
Very well, thank you.
Thanks for joining us on Daybreak. I hope you're having a good time.
Amazing, yeah. Sure.
And good morning, Yolanda.
Good morning, Dr. Constance. You look great this morning.
Thank you. You likewise. How was your weekend? Did you get some rest?
Yes, I did. I hope you did too.
I did. I had a great time.
I'm glad to hear it.
All right. To look at the papers with us today, we have Dr. Uyobosa Owugari, and he is the editor Nation's Capital of This Day newspaper. Hello there and welcome to the program. We begin with This Day. There, we'll be looking at one of the top stories across all major papers, which is the by-elections that happened over the weekend. By-elections results: APC sweeps 12 constituencies. APGA 2, PDP 1, NNPP 1, says This Day. We also have a leadership newspaper which leads with the same story, focusing on how people are responding to those elections. Shall we pull up the leadership? Mixed reactions trail by-election results as APC dominates. Ruling party wins 12 seats, as we have seen before. And then we have NNPP rejects a Kano rerun results. CSOs, others pick holes. Tinubu Speaker Abbas hail winners, and INEC as well. Dr. Owugari, how would you assess the elections and what this means for 2027? Is this a dry run or preview of what is to come?
Well, if you look at it from the perspective of the APC, because they issued a statement yesterday where their position was that what happened during the week is an endorsement of the performance of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in the last 2 years. Well, if you are a member of APC, I'm sure you will share that view. But if you also look at the manners, the behavior of voters in the last Saturday election, you will agree that it's something we should expect, similar thing we should expect in 2027. Because given the way people were trying to buy voters, you will remember that about 25 million naira, was recovered from some party leaders in Kaduna, and you also saw the violence that characterized the by-election in Kano. So much so that members of the NNPP, overwhelmed security at the polling booth, and at the end of the day, some of them were declared winners. So it is not going to be far away from what we are going to witness in 2027, but unless something happened, and that thing we should expect that there should be a reform. I'm sure there is a bill before the National Assembly to amend the Electoral Act, that will ensure that we'll have a free and fair election in 2027. But apart from that, what determined victories at some states in last election has to do with some local issues. It has to do with the endorsement of what President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has done in the last 2 years. There are local issues that influence, sub-national elections, and that's exactly what happened. If you go to Edo State, for example, the APC won the two by-election, the one for the senatorial election, the other one for the Federal House of Assembly. But it is not based on the fact that APC is very popular in that state. It has to do with the local issue. I give you an example. Lucky Benedion, who is a member of PDP, and the father, the Ezama of Benin, voted for the daughter, that is the Benedion daughters who contested the federal elections. So at the end of the day, he won. But you don't expect at the federal election, you expect the Ezama of Benin and the Lucky Benedion, who is the former governor of Edo State, who are members of the PDP, to vote for APC in the presidential election. So those are things that happen in the last Saturday election. So it has to do with the local issues, the local politics, not as a result of the swelling popularity of the APC or Tinubu, like APC said in their statement yesterday.
I mean, on average, the elections were relatively peaceful, but also there is that talk about the outcomes of elections across the country and how the political leaders conduct the election. So are we going to have to rethink democracy, or the so-called democracy that we're having, and the kind of outcomes that we're seeing in terms of delivering the kind of dividends that people are looking forward to? So a lot to talk about. Let's look at two other major stories in this day newspaper. Here, DSS gets kudos over recent major breakthroughs in fight against insecurity. And of course, Zenith Bank is celebrating 35 years in the industry, recognizes pioneer customers and long-serving staff. Over the weekend, we saw the arrest of terrorist kingpins through the efforts of the Office of the National Security Advisor, Mr. Nuhu Ribadu, and other security agencies. They were arrested in Niger State, where the Mahmuda terrorist group have been terrorizing citizens. This sort of win in a country plagued by high insecurity is significant because it disrupts the command structure of terrorist groups, weakens their coordination, and contributes to weakening also the morale of their followers. And as for Zenith Bank, 35 years and still standing is a remarkable achievement. Such longevity demonstrates an institution's ability to adapt in this very difficult environment to policy shifts, financial crisis, a host of other challenges, Dr. Wogaren.
Yeah, let's look at the major breakthrough in our attempt to fight terrorism in the country. Yes, we agree that the combined effort of security agencies in tackling insecurity in Nigeria is yielding more results. What happened, the arrest of the leaders of terrorists, that are on the wanted list of Nigerian is a major breakthrough. But what I find very funny is an attempt by security agencies to claim credit about what happened. You see the military is saying, oh, we have, it's as a result of our effort. The other security agencies, the DSS, are also, trying to, claim credit. But I think what matters is the statement by Nuhu Ribadu, the National Security Advisor, that is a combined effort of all security agencies. I think that's what we should celebrate. Unlike what happened before, where security agencies, the military, the Air Force, the Navy, the DSS, and the Army, they were working across purposes. But under this present arrangement, under the leadership of Nuhu Ribadu, I think there's a synergy among the security agencies, and that synergy is yielding fruits. We are seeing what is happening. The security network of the federal government is working, closely, and at the end of the day, what we are seeing is a result of that combined effort. So I think what matters most is for the National Security Advisor to continue to manage that synergy. The security agencies must continue to work together, because if they work together, if they are not working across purposes, we'll get more results from what they are doing. But by and large, kudos to security agencies.
And then for Zenith Bank, a quick comment, if you have any on that.
Well, I think Zenith Bank, the coming of Zenith Bank in the last 25 years, has revolutionized banking sector in Nigeria, and today is a very serious brand, a very popular brand in Nigeria, not just contributing to the banking sector, but the economic of this country. Kudos to them, 25 years of
35.
Existence. 25 or 35?
No, 35.
35,
yes.
Yeah, I think it's a good result.
All right. Let's move on to Daily Independent. 5% TSC VAT return may kill airlines in 48 hours, according to Airpeace chairman. Mr. Alan Onyema, the Airpeace chairman, is speaking about the continuous remittance of 5% ticket sales charge and the return of 7% value-added tax in the new Tax Reform Act 2025, among other levies, which he says are counterproductive for local airlines. He explained that the profit margin of airlines are little, between 3 to 5% profit, and wondered why they should pay a maximum of 5% tax to the Nigeria Civil Aviation Authority. He said if the new taxes are implemented from January next year, airlines will die. Airlines have always complained of numerous challenges, or charges that leave them with very little space to maneuver. Unfortunately, the revenue drive by this government through taxes is leaving no stone unturned. Every sector is being charged. Mr. Onyema also spoke about the local and international conspiracy against local Nigerian airlines. So it just, takes us back to the discussion about special consideration that supports local businesses in order to keep them alive, Tolu.
Okay, so the rich also cry. that's what but then I think it's really unfair asking them to keep remitting 5%. Remember also that CSC cargo sales charge is also 5%, and they're still remitting that. So then at the end of the day, it's between 3 to 5% that any airline is making as profit. So so that leaves them with little or nothing. And if you talk about the conditions or the provisions in the new tax reforms, there are a lot of things that I'm not satisfied with, if you ask me. Looking at the idea of relieving the burden on the poor and the rich, and then putting the burden right on the middle class. So I'm thinking that at the end of the day, there might be uprisings, or rather reactions, not uprisings, reactions against the entirety of the conditions in that new tax reform. Because if you're earning 801,000 naira, for instance, between 801,000 naira in a month and 3 million naira in a month, you'll be paying 15%. That's a lot. So it's like relieving the poor, the very poor, and the rich, and then putting the burden on the middle class. It's just not fair. So going back to airlines and the danger in continuing to remit 5% VAT, 5% CS,
actually the VAT is 7%,
VAT, 7% VAT, 5% CSC.
Okay,
it's something that needs to be looked into. Yeah.
Definitely. The Punch newspaper, FG backtracks as NLC holds ground. So the federal government has pledged to reverse deductions from employers' compensation scheme managed by the Nigeria Social Insurance Trust Fund. NLC had last week accused government of diverting 40% of NSITF contributions to the government treasury. According to NLC, this undermined workers' social protection and demanded immediate refund. For context, the Employers' Compensation Scheme is a social insurance program providing financial support to employees who suffer work-related injuries, illnesses, disabilities, or death. And the scheme is funded entirely by employer contributions, around 1% of monthly payroll. So all over the world, such monies are usually invested or can be invested, but the lack of trust in the workings of federal government here means that workers do not, want this to happen, or they do not trust what the government intends to do with their money. Yolanda, any thoughts on this? I mean, you can't blame the workers here.
Absolutely not. I mean, the pressure is on salaries that are already, low, and people are struggling to even make the minimum wage. You're now requesting for people to pay more charges that you cannot even, see where they're being saved. And just like you rightly said, in other parts of the world, it's different because you can rely on the government, you can rely on the system. You know that if X amount is being taken from your salary for your pension or for whatever it is, you can count on your money being there at the end of the day when you need it. But in Nigeria, people have lost trust in the system altogether. And I think this pressure about the NLC, threatening with strikes has really put the FG on its toes. So them backtracking is, I guess, indeed a good sign for what may be to come.
Right. They were supposed to go on strike today, but I guess that is not happening because the federal government has moved in to make sure that their concerns are being looked at. Let's see the second story in Punch newspaper. Nigeria deports 42 convicted Chinese Philippine cyber criminals. We also have that in New Telegraph, if we can pull that up. Immigration deports 42 foreign nationals convicted of internet fraud, 150 more to follow. In total, 192 will be deported, according to this report. The first batch of 42 were sent packing yesterday. Another set will be airlifted tomorrow. This article reminds us that the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission arrested 792 members of a syndicate over cryptocurrency and internet romance scam last year in a 7-story building in Lagos, where they were training Nigerians on how to initiate romance and investment scams. Members of the syndicate included 114 Chinese, 40 Filipinos, 2 Kazakhstans, 1 Pakistani, and 1 Indonesian. Dr. Wogiaran, the point here has been made that internet fraud is becoming rampant, with foreigners, getting deeply involved here in Nigeria, and the EFCC and the Immigration Service are on it.
Yes, I agree with you, but I think it is not just enough to convict them and send them packing. We should also allow them to serve their J terms in Nigeria, because similar things are happening to Nigerians abroad. If you are convicted for any crime, you serve your J term, and maybe thereafter you'll be deported to Nigeria. So if we have some foreigners who were convicted for criminal acts, like the cybercrime act we are talking about, popularly known as 419 and all that, so there's no reason why you should take them to court. They were convicted in competent court of law, and at the end of the day, you are deported them. I mean, it's of what use. But I think unless there's diplomacies between the government and the country affected, that they should send them back to their country so that they can serve their J term there. But I would have expected that the federal government should insist that those who were convicted for criminal act in Nigeria, whether they are foreigners or not, should serve their J term in Nigeria before they are deported. Before they are deported. Otherwise, by the time you deport them, there's no guarantee that they will serve their J term in their country.
Well, Dr. Wogiaran, they actually served their jail term anyway. A year. I mean, they were given 1 year each, and then I only think that was a slap on the wrist. A year each, and then 1 million naira each. They were asked to pay 1 million naira each. That was after they had had their plea bargain. Again, we're back to plea bargain, which is like enabling corruption. So it's quite unfortunate that that was all they could get for internet fraud, a year jail term and 1 million naira each. That's quite sad. A slap on the wrist, you say.
Well, there is also that argument that our prisons are overburdened. There are so many people in jail that should not be there. There are so many people that haven't been convicted, and they're just lying waste there. So we haven't cleared that backlog. Yes, some people may say, yeah, definitely they should serve the jail term, and totally like you pointed out, some people are getting off very easily with very light sentences. Okay, so it's something we have to talk about. But again, the entire prison system, the entire justice system, again, in focus in this article. Let's look at Vanguard newspaper. We have that story on how APC swept by elections. We've seen that, but also FG Jonathan ACF celebrate IBB at 84. Insurance industry comes under pressure from rising costs and claims, and to the student loan, now fund loans will pay fee students. Fees students are charged according to ALAUSA. Then they also have something on the NLC strike that has been shelved for now temporarily. There's other papers. The Guardian newspaper. Over 10 banks, insurers risk forced merger in race for new capital. We know that's the recapitalization exercise that is ongoing. So we have here a road to 2026 recapitalization. Again, by elections here. Afe Babalola canvasses better education sector to check insecurity. Serap seeks probe of pay to present motions bills claim. Replacing Tinubu with Jonathan, not solution but system overhaul, says Farotimi, talking about that discussion in opposition parties to get a former president Goodluck Jonathan back into power. Dele Farotimi says, no, that's not going to cut it. It's not what we need. Moving on to the international headlines, Daily Graphic. Return drip machines to RCCs. National Coordinator wants MMDAs, and President Mahama on official trip to Japan and Singapore. The Citizen newspaper, not national, no dialogue with key players such as the DA, Freedom Front Plus, and Legacy Foundations absent from the national dialogue in South Africa. NCC is being called out on the so-called talks. Daily Mirror this morning, Ukraine war showdown. Europe takes a stand. PM joins EU leaders and Zelensky for crunch talks with Trump over Putin's peace offer. Yolanda, the EU leaders will be learning more about that meeting or summit between Putin and Trump when they meet with President Trump today. France, UK, Italy, and a few other European presidents will be joining Zelensky, to back him.
It's very positive to see Europe standing behind Ukraine. I think we've been seeing this for the past couple of months now. And, preceding what we saw on Friday in Alaska with Donald Trump and President Putin having those discussions, it was as if water was just poured on the entire situation. We were expecting to hear something of weight, something of so much value, some details that would give some insight into how this war would end. But instead of seeing that, it was watered down completely. Trump did something that was so bizarre by not even speaking first. We had Putin, who is on American soil, speaking first, literally dictating how the discussions had gone, and Trump just took a back seat. So now seeing Europe standing behind Ukraine is such a strong stance, because remember as well, last week, Zelensky went to meet with Sir Keir Starmer, and just this whole buildup of everything that has been going on shows such a positivity for Ukraine and for where Europe stands. And strangely enough, what seemed like a war between two nations is seeming like a world war in itself.
All right, we'll see how that summit goes with President Trump today. Trump is expecting that there will be a second summit between Putin and Zelensky and some European leaders. We'll be watching and bringing the update to you. Other papers also lead with that much expected talks. Daily Mail this morning, D-Day at the White House, it says. And the Times newspaper, Zelensky wants security guarantees before a deal. And moving on to Daily Telegraph, finally on that story, Europe tells Trump, don't give in to Putin. And then we have metro.co.uk this morning. Prices going up another 5.5%, say experts. Outrageous rail fares rise. People are angry over this hike after 4.6% above inflation increase last year. No breathing space for consumers in the United Kingdom. We discussed last week, Yolanda, of that over 14 million people in the United Kingdom living in poverty, over 4 million of them children. So you see this rising costs in cost of living, and it's not only in Nigeria.
No, it's not at all. And it's good to see, because the truth is, when it comes to the public, don't mess with the areas of public transportation especially. People rely on this to go to work, to go to school, to take their children to school. So having to increase rates that are already high is like a punch in the face. Right. So it seemed like Tolu had something to say, because you were nodding as well when I was saying that.
We're out of time. Oh, just a second, we're out of time. Did you have anything to say, Tolu?
Okay, I was actually going to talk about Ukraine and the daunting task of making a peace deal when they go to see Trump today. Remember that the U.S. signed, just 3 weeks ago, a trade deal with the EU. So these countries are coming with economic and military powers. I think it would be a good thing for them to ride on that, having been called by Trump as the biggest trade deal in the world.
Unfortunately, we have to go. Sorry for cutting you short. But Dr. Oyebosi Owughiaran, editor Nation's capital of this day, always great to have you early in the morning.
Thank you very much.
That's all we have time for here on Daybreak. I am Tolu Ojeo. Make it bye from me.
And I'm Yolanda Roberts. Thank you again, Dr. Constance Ikwoku, for driving the newspaper review. Please do keep it here on Arise News. The morning show is next. Goodbye.